So I wasn't the biggest fan of Squid Game when it originally released, but after watching it before starting season 2, I really did enjoy the overall story and characters, and season 2 had a lot of great memorable scenes, especially the first episode. The first episode of season 2 was one of the greatest episodes in the whole show. But after finishing season 3, I gotta say I'm immensely disappointed. Now obviously this video is gonna cover a lot of spoilers, but mainly for the last episode. I feel like a lot of parts of season 3 are very rushed or don't have a lot of good payoff. And a lot of my issues stem from the fact that the ending was just so mishandled in the worst ways possible. First of all, we gotta go over the fact that the finalists are just a bunch of randomos. Like, completely random characters that we don't really know much about. Besides Player 100, interestingly enough. He really takes a stage in the last part of the season, especially in the jump rope game, where he's begging for his life to let everyone pass through. It was really funny to see. And he comes up with a great plan, basically saying that Gi-hoon, the baby, and the other players can survive by just killing off one character that we have no clue who it is. He doesn't really have a lot of screen time or lines of dialogue, and it was very odd. But his plan would have worked if Gi-hoon just listened to him. And let's talk about that baby. That baby had so much plot armor throughout the season. It was absolutely ridiculous. First off, the baby being in Squid Game and the VIPs just allowing it to be a player makes zero sense, because every player had to sign a contract, and the contract was never signed by the baby, which he can't do, obviously, but it also can't vote. So a lot of the finale involves rules just being made up for the spot. The final confrontation just goes completely off the rails, and Player 100 might have not actually betrayed the other players due to the fact that there was only 8 people left and killing off 3 would end the game. So he decided to make a lunchbox, as he put it. I don't think Player 100 would have betrayed anyone because he was super close to paying off all his debts and having extra money, but the fact that he actually tried to coerce with Gi-hoon and tried to figure out a plan for everyone to survive shows me that he wasn't intentionally trying to betray anyone, besides being at player 039. Another issue with the ending is that Gi-hoon just stands there the entire time and doesn't say a single word. Like, he could have said so much to get out of the situation and possibly win, and it's even more dumb because he's holding a life in his arms, literally. Speaking of which, the baby was a very dumb plot device. I get what they were going for within the story and the ending, but the baby winning the Squid Game was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, do I have to say it? A baby winning Squid Game is absolutely insane. Never would have I guessed. I actually had 4 predictions, and that one was actually a joke about the baby winning. But I didn't know how it was going to play out until I finished the episode. And let's talk about the biggest problem in this episode that I have seen no one talk about, surprisingly, is the button. The button is a literal, physical plot device. My issue isn't from the fact that they have to start the game, it's more so that when has this ever been a rule? In every single other Squid Game, even the past final match, no one had to start the game. The Squid Game guards had to start the game, or the voice, or the front man, you get the gist. Why would the players have an option to start the game? It just makes unnecessary time limit, and it makes no sense because it's never been a rule before. And that's another issue with the finale. They just keep making up these random rules. The baby has to join now. They have to press a button. It doesn't make any sense and doesn't follow the structure from any of the previous games that we're used to. The front man and the VIPs just watch Gi-hoon just stand in a corner the entire time, and and he basically does nothing until he kills player 333, who goes crazy for no reason. I understand he wants to get the money, but he literally could have survived. I don't know why he pushed player 100 off the edge, but if he didn't, him, Gi-hoon, and the baby would all live, survive, and get even more money. It's just so stupid, the fact that this writing has gone so downhill since the first season, and season 2 had such a strong opening. But one of my other issues is that the side characters win. This is like at the end of Breaking Bad. Instead of Walter giving his money to Skylar and Walt Jr. and Holly, that all the money just goes to Marie. That's literally what the Squid Game ending is. You can't convince me otherwise. Why do I care about the artist and his daughter? I don't know much about the artist guy. I mean, he's barely had any lines of dialogue. If he was a developed character I would actually give a shit about, maybe he could be interesting. I mean, he did help Gi-hoon in the fight against the Squid Game guards, but that's all I really know about him besides him and his daughter and the North Korean army girl. I don't really know what she is, to be honest. And of course, we gotta talk about the masterpiece that is that ending. God damn it, Netflix, you can't resist. It's just so ridiculous. It's just a big teaser for Squid Game USA. I cannot believe this. First off, if they don't call it box ball, but they call it Foursquare, then it's dead on arrival. I'm just being straight up. Like, no, it's called box ball. You can't convince me. And I hope they do actually add that into it. Maybe I'll watch it. I don't know. But the ending of Squid Game left a sour taste in my mouth. I mean, the Squid Game recruiter girl looks at the front man and basically gives him a big smile. So Gi-hoon didn't really accomplish anything, but he literally could have just gotten out by pressing he actually had a time where he could have pressed the button and the baby was out of reach for 333, but obviously, you know, the plot armor was given to the baby, and the baby won Squid Game. Overall, I cannot believe this is the ending of the show. I did like Season 1. Season 1 will always remain as the best season. And this whole season just fell flat. This season just fell flat like Gi-hoon did. Nothing was accomplished. The story just fell apart, and worst of all, the message didn't really make sense because it was just a repeat of the season 1 message, and it just leaves you kind of empty and bored. I was basically bored throughout most of season 3. There was some good spots, like I did really enjoy the jump rope mini game, and the hide and seek was actually a highlight of the season, but it's just a lot of filler and a lot of weird decision makings, and overall I was just disappointed.